Hello everyone, this is Richard, CEO of Altfins, with another trading video. In this video, I want to talk about yesterday's sharp sell-off, what may have caused it, and also indications that such sell-off was coming. There was one warning sign, specifically the RSI was hitting overbought levels for many of the coins, and we'll take a look at what that means and how to spot it in the future. So let's go ahead and jump in. Let's take a look at yesterday's trading action. As we mentioned, the two major coins, but all the other altcoins as well sold off. We can see that here in the chart. The last couple of bars, are down here, and that we're talking about a 5 to 10% pullback for both Bitcoin and Ethereum, and that goes for all the other major altcoins as well. One by one followed. What could have triggered it? There wasn't anything particularly big, honestly. There was some inflation data that came out of UK that was higher than expected, which could indicate that the UK central bank may have to increase interest rates higher for longer, which is not good for risk assets. But I don't think that was quite it. Really, there were two things in my mind. One was some profit taking, frankly. I mean, we've had some really major gains really since the beginning of the year, but particularly in the last 2 weeks. If we look at Ethereum, especially, let's take a look at the chart here. We had a pretty quick ramp up here in the last week or so following the Shapella upgrade that was well anticipated and a really big hot event for staking of Ethereum. And so that was one of the things that I think there was some profit taking basically after that big run up overall in the last few weeks and months. And that's okay. There's profit taking is okay. We're still well in an uptrend for both Ethereum, as you can see, strong up across short term, medium term, and long term. We can actually see that on the trend tab here. And similarly for Bitcoin, also in an uptrend, and a number of other altcoins as well. If you see an altcoin that's not in an uptrend, at least on the medium term basis, then something's wrong. So, but the profit taking also triggered some liquidations. You may have seen some headlines about liquidations. And what that means is that obviously some traders, large or big or institutional traders, but even many individual traders use leverage to trade. And sometimes they go a bit too far, a leverage of 10 to 1, extremely high. I discourage using any leverage. I myself don't use leverage, but I think anything more than 2 to 1 is too much. And so some of these levered buyers or levered owners and traders were getting closed out and liquidated because their positions were going against them, and the exchanges like Binance and OKX and others will liquidate your positions if you are highly levered and the bet and your trade is going against you. You're losing 10 times as much money as you would if you were not levered. So we can see that. I think there were some articles about that I saw under the news section here for Bitcoin. Let's take a look right here. This is from Crypto Slate, and it was an interesting graph here. So they said that about $300 million worth of liquidations happened across the broader crypto market, not just BTC, over the last 24 hours. So pretty significant amount. Let's take a look at some of the history of that. This data comes from CoinGlass. Right, and here's sort of the recent history of liquidations for shorts and longs. And so yesterday, obviously, a big liquidation day for longs. This is specifically for Bitcoin over a number of different exchanges. Sorry, not for Bitcoin. This is for all coins for across multiple exchanges, right? So that was definitely an outlier in terms of days of liquidations, but it happens, as you can see. This is history for really since the beginning of the year. We've had about 2 or 3 days like that already this year. So, but what happens is that obviously when those positions get liquidated, it means they get closed out. So traders that own BTC or owned ETH or other coins and were getting liquidated, then those positions were getting closed out and sold. And so that selling kind of piled up and accelerated because of these liquidations. So this was the profit taking and the downtick in the market accelerated because of these liquidations. All right, well, that should help explain some of the action yesterday, but ultimately I think that we were approaching some resistance levels. For Bitcoin, it certainly is we can look at the curated chart that we have here that highlights some of the major resistance and support zones. For Bitcoin, it certainly is around 32,000. We were approaching that, and then now obviously, were rejected. There was definitely some profit taking around that level. The next support zone is about 28,000. So we'll see if the price holds there on the pullback. And for Ethereum, also big gainer in the last few weeks after the Shapella upgrade. You see, look at that. It really broke out majorly in about last week or so. Now it's given up all those gains. And so here, the resistance zone was 2,000 to 100. It was 2,000, but we broke through that, and now we pulled back below that. And so the $2,000 level was a resistance zone, then it became support zone, and now perhaps it becomes a resistance zone again. But the point being is that as we get to some resistance areas, there's typically some profit taking, and so that's what happened last day. And lastly, I'll mention, how can we detect that in the future? Well, if you look at the RSI indicator, relative strength index indicator, for Ethereum in this case, it was indicating that we went a little too far, a little too fast. Basically, that's what relative strength index is. You can find more information about it in our knowledge base. Here in the knowledge base, let's look up RSI. We got a good article about RSI divergence and how to trade RSI, but we have a formula here, but essentially what it is the average gain on up periods, so on days when the price closes up, what is the average gain on those days versus average loss on the down days. So when the price goes up rapidly over multiple days, the RSI rises. And the RSI typically trades, typically always trades in the range of 0 to 100, but really most of the time it's in the neutral area between 30 and 70. But when it gets to extremes like 70 or higher, or 30 or lower, 70 or higher, it's very overbought. 30 and lower is very oversold. Right here, it was very oversold. Look at RSI, it was almost at 30. Very oversold, and then we bounced. but rarely does it get at 70 or higher. Look at that, right? Got here, and then it pulled back a little bit, and it got to 70 here, and it pulled back big time. And now it got to 70 here, and again it pulled back. So an RSI of 70 or higher, if it's 75 or even 80, that's really, really overbought. You're really pushing your luck if you're buying or if you're owning an asset with an RSI higher than 75 or even 80. But in this case, for Ethereum, even 73, 74, yeah, we were getting overbought here. And those situations, typically, we see a pullback. Now, that doesn't mean the trend is over, that the uptrend is over. Not by any means. It's a healthy pullback with some profit taking. And while in the meantime, other traders and investors who missed that run up see that as an opportunity and step in. In fact, a consistently high RSI is actually an indication of solid uptrend and momentum. As you can see right here, yeah, we continue to see very high RSI, and that was coupled with some decent gains, but especially here in the last, call it, month or so, we were in that upper zone the entire time, and we're making some decent gains. It's just that when we get really overbought, when the price rises a little too fast, too high too fast, then you're going to get some profit taking, and coupled with the liquidations that we saw is what compiled the drawdown. Now, how can we set up an alert for that, perhaps, or a screen? Well, you can find, first of all, here in our screener under the oscillators tab, we typically, the standard RSI is RSI 14, which just means that it's calculated over the last 14 days. If you're on a daily time interval, it's 14 days. That's the standard one that I use and most traders use. As you can see, now we're in the neutral zone, so somewhere between 30 and 50. Let's check on that. Let's add RSI 14. Actually, it's here, or it's right here on the right-hand side. So it's around 50 for most. So that's in the neutral zone. In fact, if you select that, and we go under the indicators tab here, we'll also see that RSI is right here in the blue zone. That's neutral, as indicated here right now. But obviously yesterday or the day before yesterday, we were in an overbought territory. Now, this is one way to check on it. Another way to check on it is to create a screen, a quick filter, a market screen. So let's go ahead and do that. Oscillators, RSI, and here we have some presets. For example, overbought, meaning over 70, or very overbought, over 75. Let's go ahead and let's go with overbought. So add that filter. You can save it for future. You'll have it under your saved filters. And let's click on done. Okay, so here are all the coins out of 3,000 or so that are still overbought. All right, then you can go through them and analyze them. So that's now the other neat thing is that if you connect Altfin's platform with your exchange accounts, you'll be able to do this. You'll be able to filter the market screener just for the coins in your portfolio. Now, in my case, I don't have any coins that are overbought. So I just got rid of that. I deleted that filter. So I have coins in my portfolio, but when I add that filter, I don't have any right now coins that are overbought. Let's add that filter back in. Okay. You can also, if you don't want to connect your exchange accounts, you can also create a coin watch list and do the same thing. But similarly, I have none of my coins on my watch list are overbought at this point. As I said, you can go ahead and save this filter and give it a name, overbought, RSI over 70. Save that filter, and that will show up in your saved filters. I have a lot of saved filters, but here on the bottom is the one that I just created. You can in the future come back to it, apply it. And now the other neat thing, if you do that, is you can go to the signal summary, and this filter will appear under your custom filters that you created. It's right here, and it shows how many coins in each time interval. In this case, we're looking at a daily interval, fit that criteria that I just created, 106 coins. And there's a bunch of other preset filters or signals that we created that you can check out as well. But when I click on that 106, it takes me back to the screener with that filter already pre-applied. So that's a neat shortcut as well. And in fact, if we go back to signal summary, once again, you can use my data to either filter all these signals and filter it just for the portfolio that you have, or you can do that just for the watch list perhaps instead. So and that way you'll see how many of your coins on your watch list or portfolio fit that specific signal or any other signal that's already pre-created or preset, predefined here for you on this list. All right, so we've covered that and what is relative strength index, how to use it. You can also create an alert. You can create an alert specifically for this filter. So once you have the filter applied, you can create alert for it, overbought. But this is a very generic filter with a lot of coins on it. So once I create it, it'll be under my alerts management as one of the filters. Again, I have many of these, but here it is. You can then disable it, delete it, rename it, and your alert notifications will appear here. But this one's going to have a lot of coins on the list because it's very broad. What you could do, I'm going to delete this one, is create one for a specific coin to say, okay, well, I just want this alert to happen when just for BTC. So I add that to the filter. Now I don't have any coins because, I don't have any results because Bitcoin currently is not overbought. But I can still create an alert that says BTC RSI over 70 overbought. And now I will get alerts specifically for Bitcoin when it gets overbought, when RSI is above 70. All right, well, that's hopefully a great trading tip for you. What to do now specifically, or generally speaking, actually, now that we've seen this pullback, do we jump right back in? I think we let the dust settle a bit. Let's see where we find support for these altcoins. I think you may want to check out coins that are still in a strong uptrend. So on our crypto markets, under market highlights here, we have various widgets on the screen that are basically predefined market screens. So if you're looking for just coins that are in a strong uptrend still, you can find a shortcut to that and see that all of these are in a strong uptrend on the short-term, medium, and long-term basis still. So these could be some candidates for trades. Similarly, you could maybe look for coins that are in an uptrend and have experienced a significant pullback. That's this one right here, pullback in an uptrend. So you can jump to those results as well. And perhaps, so these coins that are at least for the last week are down 5% or more. So these could be some candidates for trading, but at this point, what I'm looking for is, again, the bottom, on this pullback. We're not done yet, apparently, because today when I look at the action, we were slightly in the plus, but the sellers are back in, overwhelming the buyers. And so now we're looking like that's rolling over again, and we're seeing some more red than green on my screen. So the selling is continuing, and so we haven't quite found support. For finding the support resistance, obviously you can do that yourself, but you can also leverage our technical analysis. You can find those in the details here. For Bitcoin, for example, under the curated charts section, you will find our technical analysis that shows you that the next support zone is at $2,800 or $28,000, sorry. So we're getting close to that. We're at 28,489. So that's where I would start paying attention. For Ethereum, let's take a look at that curated chart, technical analysis, right? We're down back to that uptrend line, but we may break it. The next really more significant support zone is around 1,700, maybe a bit higher, 1,800 as well, but we're not quite there yet. So we could see that pullback continue. Binance, Coin, BNB. Let's take a look at here. It's trading in a rising wedge. So let's see, how this goes. You can read the trade setup here. Basically, in this case, we're waiting for a breakout of this rising wedge, either bullish breakout or bearish breakout. But really, looking at this, it's quite possible that we break bearishly and we revisit this horizontal support line around $300. And that may be an interesting swing entry point because it also lines up with the 200-day moving average. So I think we need to be patient here in terms of our entry on this pullback, but I think there will be some really interesting opportunities in the next couple of days. In terms of RSI above 70, I think that's a good warning sign. It's a canary in the coal mine that we've gone too far too fast. So I would definitely use that as an indication of either trimming any positions or exiting positions and getting back in on another upswing. Hope this is helpful. If you have any questions or suggestions, please email us at invest@altfins.com. Good luck trading. And a reminder that this video is for informational purposes only. This is not financial advice, and do your own research.